Shameless.
United in the Europa League. Europa League. Me tell them one time and we say Europa League.
Manchester United 2, Barcelona 1. We are through to the next round of the Europa League. It's only a playoff. We're through to the next round. 4-3 on aggregate. Those big European nights at Old Trafford. It doesn't matter if it's not in the Champions League. They're big European nights. We've just defeated top of La Liga, the best that Spain have to offer. They've come to Old Trafford and they haven't been good enough. Oh my goodness me. What a game. What a night. What a moment. I said this morning that tonight felt like a pivotal moment in the Erik ten Hag era at Manchester United. And there have been so many this season. You think back to Brentford, you think to Liverpool at home, you think to Arsenal at home, you think to City away, City at home, and now this. You think of Barcelona away last week, the performance, the acid test, the litmus test that we all said we'd pass. We went into this game with confidence, with expectation, and to be honest, we started the game all right. We started the game brightly. We looked okay as it started off, and then Bruno Fernandes has a chance in behind, and I felt that he should have done better. And first half, Bruno Fernandes, it's not difficult to say, I thought was really poor. I thought the majority of the United team in that first half was really poor. Fred, oh my goodness me, shocking in the first half against Barcelona this evening, as was a lot of people. Weghorst, Sancho, I mean, I could go on and on with the poor performances, but we started okay. We started fairly bright, and then there's the penalty, and for me, and I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on it because there's no point. We won. We're through. It doesn't matter. But at the same time, for me, I think it's so soft. And I understand that when you sort of grip the player, you give the referee a decision to make. But you see that so often in the game. We saw it a couple of times during the game, for our own defenders, but also from Barcelona defenders, and they won't get given. I thought it was a soft penalty. And David De Gea is really unfortunate with, actually. There's the stuttered run-up from Lewandowski, who did miss a penalty or so at the World Cup, didn't he? And he was unlucky. He tips onto the post, but it still goes in. And then we looked rattled after that. We really did look rattled, and we needed half time, to be honest with you. We were Ten Hag looked really, really unhappy. He looked unhappy with the referee. He looked unhappy with the team, and rightfully so. And the passing from the likes of Fred and Wan-Bissaka and Bruno and Weghorst was shocking, and we were getting dominated, and the players looked lethargic, and it could have been 2-0 for all intents and purposes. It should have been 2-0. A terrible pass from David De Gea passing out from the back, and that can happen. And, it's a fantastic block by Casemiro, who was really, for me, in that first half, the only sort of shining light, the redeeming player for me was Casemiro, who just, when it's a big game, he is up for it. He is one of those players. He is so vital and so important because what I saw in the first half was a team that when the pressure was on, certain players, I felt like they were crumbling a little bit under that pressure. And you had people like Casemiro who just, they thrive under it. They play better. They grow under that pressure. But we needed half time. And it is so reassuring to have a manager like Erik ten Hag that you know for a fact he's not going to tolerate it. When there's a guy that says good is not good enough, even when we win games, you know for a fact he sees a performance like that, a first half like that, he's going to fix it. No more waiting to 70, 75 minutes. No more waiting to see how it plays out. No more, well, I'll give this group of players the benefit of the doubt. It's no, I'm making changes. I'm changing personnel. I'm changing shape. He took Weghorst off. He brought Antony on. He moved people around. Rashford then suddenly was through the middle. Sancho on the left again didn't have the best game, but it worked. You had Bruno then through the middle, and immediately, like that second half, the perfect start. Only a couple minutes into that second half, Fred gets the goal, and after that, there was only one team in it, really. Barcelona looked like they had no idea what hit them. Fred, it's funny because, to be honest, it's almost the exact performance he did last week at the Nou Camp, whereby for the first half of the game he was poor. He was Fred. He was giving the ball away. He looked erratic. He was sloppy, and he went for about 40 minutes for just not completing a pass whatsoever. And then second half, oh my goodness me, he was brilliant. Absolutely incredible, winning the ball back, being tenacious, but also when he won the ball back, he was crisp with his passing. He was passing the ball forward. He was careful with the ball. And the finish itself is typical Fred in the sense of it comes off his shin, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And it came from a high press as well. Marcus Rashford presses up high on the pitch. Bruno Fernandes, after a first half where he was really sloppy on the ball, finally starts picking people out from central areas. Of course, he looked uncomfortable on the right-hand side, picks out Fred, as I mentioned, off the shin, but it doesn't matter. And then after that, we were up. We were up. Old Trafford was up, and this was my hope and was my expectation going into the game, was that, I tell you what, we've seen this season. Big games at Old Trafford. Old Trafford gets rocking and rolling. The crowd get loud, and it inspires the player and the opposition. They just can't handle that noise, and it certainly helped. I felt like that we were kicking into the Stretford end in the second half, because it really did just suck the ball into the back of the net. And you know, that momentum started to build, and immediately after Fred's goal, we should have been 2-0 up. Anthony gets put through behind, and it was a simple square for me to Rashford, tap it into the net 2-1. He decided to take a shot and it didn't work out. Irony of all ironies, later on in the game, he had a similar opportunity where he probably should have taken the shot, and this time he tries to square it when he shouldn't have squared it. And they cut to Ten Hag, and he was sort of pointing out, going, why don't you square it? That's the opportunity. And you just felt at that point, you felt the momentum start to build, and Barcelona looked rattled. And look, they're always going to have opportunities because they've got good players, but suddenly people like Frenkie de Jong, people like Sergio Busquets, that did have sort of the run of the mill in the first half. They had the run of the pitch. They didn't have a lot of pressure on them. It was really controlling the game with ease. Suddenly they look rattled. And as I mentioned, Fred just woke up. I don't know what it is with Fred and second halves in these European games this season, particularly in the last couple of weeks, or just Fred in general and second half. Second half Fred is a real thing. It's a real condition. Yeah, second half Fred. He was brilliant second half. Absolutely brilliant. Suddenly, Casemiro had a midfield partner that was showing quality. And as I mentioned, Anthony gets in behind, and he should look for the pass. He takes the shot. David De Gea redeems himself absolutely from the first half, makes an excellent save from Jules Koundé. And again, that's my point, is that even if that David De Gea mistake had gone in, and I think it would have been a completely different game, by the way, completely different. That could have been game over, tie over, had Casemiro not made that block. But that's what David De Gea can do in the second half. He can make world-class saves like that. And then suddenly, again, momentum continues to build. Fred's winning the ball back. More substitutions are made at the latter stages of the second half. Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Jadon Sancho come off. And I did feel like Jadon Sancho didn't have his best game. He did look two steps off it. Maybe it was too much too soon for him, or just wasn't he just wasn't up for it tonight. But that's why you've got quality on the bench. That's why you can bring on Alejandro Garnacho. That's why you can bring on Anthony. Eric Ten Hag said it in his post-match interview he did with BT Sport. They said, look, I think Manchester United have the record this season for the most goals scored by substitutes. And he said, well, that's always part of the game plan, is you've got a bench where you can bring on Anthony and Garnacho on the wings. That's such a luxury to have, and that's why you need squad depth. And that's why I always say, when we talk about signings and people say, oh, he won't want to sit on the bench. No, he shouldn't want to. But you need that. Games are won in the dying minutes. Games are won in the last 20 minutes. Games are won in the last 10 minutes. And having those players to bring on to attack the fullbacks, that's what won us the game today. And the fact that we've got a world-class manager that put a rocket up his team at half-time, switched some things around, and you just know he's going to do that. And as I mentioned, Anthony, he gets the winner. A bit of a pinball. I think Garnacho had a shot. It might have been Fred that had a shot blocked. Comes to Anthony. Brilliant finish. Cushioned finish off his left foot, his preferred left foot, into the bottom corner. And then we did ride our luck a little bit. Rafael Varane clears one off the line. But it was deserved. And it was deserved not just this evening, but it's also deserved across both games. Yes, Barcelona dominated the first half. But I think if you're going to judge four halves of football, which you would in a tie across two legs, I think Manchester United deserve it. And it's interesting because you now have to, you're feeling euphoric, you have to settle and you have to think, right, we've got a cup final at the weekend against Newcastle, and all focus has to turn to that. Yes, it was a big atmosphere. Yes, there's momentum. Yes, oh my goodness me, we've got a world-class manager. Hold him, keep him, back him. But at the same time, we also have to realise we can't rest on our laurels. Cup final at the weekend. There's a draw tomorrow to find out who we're going to be playing in the next round of the Europa League. It doesn't stop here. It's only, late February. Titles and trophies are won in May, at the end of the season. And we still got to get there. So it's really exciting times. So what a moment, what a match. And we move on to the next one. Come on, United. Eric Ten Hag, absolutely brilliant.